Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review of Aggretsuko Season 3 on Netflix. And I thought that this season was okay. I thought it would be focusing more on kind of like more kind of mundane kind of things, but this one kind of ratcheted up to like some crazier levels. Now, granted, there'd been some crazy stuff that had happened before, but this was just like, oh, okay. So just seeing like Retsuko like doing her kind of daily life thing really wasn't the focus here. They kind of went nuttier and tried to do other kind of things, mainly detailing with her whole death metal kind of thing going on with the karaoke and actually trying to do something with it. But even at that point, they don't really kind of commit to it. They kind of revert back as much to the status quo as possible at the end. So we start off, and she's getting over her breakup with Tadano by playing VR video games and getting fucked over by the microtransactions. Like, she gets into this dating sim VR thing with this like unicorn boyfriend and like spend pretty much all of her money on that. I'm like, damn. Granted, you could have done something like doing the thing with like the microtransaction and everything. But I'm like, well, that escalated really fucking quickly to where she's pretty much like scrimping everything. She actually uh, drives out to help her go on this kind of vacation little thing with her mom to this hot spring, and she rented this car. Well, she's going back because her mom gave her gas money. She's like, yeah, all right, cool, and she wanted to go get a steak, and because she has not driven much, well, not because she hasn't driven much, but more because the plot demands that she forgets that it's in reverse. She backs. She had accidentally backed over this parking block, which is like a. It's similar to like what you'd see like a full thing, but it looked like just one block. And then she accidentally, instead of going forward to go back over the block, she hits it completely in reverse and smacks into this other dude's van. And it's this kind of like mean looking dude, takes all of her information, like, alright, fine, cool, whatever, then putters off. She's freaking out with the police, thinking that she's gonna be like screwed over and everything, but he calls her, they hash it out. He just needs 200,000 yen. She, of course, doesn't have it, but she's got some to like kind of pay off. But, alright, fine, then you will work for me. Need to go to my job. And he is evidently the producer for an idol girls group called OTM Girls. So they're doing all this singing and stuff. He's actually pretty much trying to hype them up, the crowd. They're like, yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like, all right. And they pretty much use her as the accounting director slash gopher person. It's like, all right. So we see her messing with all the kind of stuff, trying to look at the books and all that, and being like, listen, we kind of need to do these other kind of things. And gets them to have more efficient kind of processes and to actually try and get this into a money making venture. And they actually start making more money. And she's like, here you go. She actually starts to get paid. She's like, here, I'll pay you off with this. And he's like, no, that's your first one. You keep that one. I'm like, all right, this dude's pretty cool. I was just mainly like, okay, I thought this was going to be more kind of like normal kind of stuff because it starts getting kind of like nutso. Granted, I don't have a problem with that. I'm just like, all right, cool. We'll kind of see how this goes. And she starts doing also videos on the internet to teach people how to death sing. And it's like she's got this like little kind of mask on that wouldn't fool anybody whatsoever, and pretty much you because it gets brought into the freaking with like director Tan and like his girls get into her YouTube videos, and when she eventually gets into the OTM girls thing because the producer dude Hayoto takes the lead singer girl Manika to record like new songs at the karaoke booth and sees her doing her whole kind of thing. He's like, you know what? This is like a grain of sand. Let's drop a sea urchin in the desert. And pretty much wants her to do death metal singing in the girls group. And she does it, and it goes off very well. They start getting more fans and everything. They take over the social media accounts, and it works over pretty well. And she's like, all right, this is kind of weird but kind of cool. Monica, of course, has kind of like mixed feelings because she's pushed to the back, but it is also launching their group, so it's like, hey, this kind of works out very well. We see that Haida is like, what the hell is going on with her? And Gory also kind of joins in on this. Retsuko was going to ask Gory for money, but declines to because she had just taken out a 30-year mortgage on like this apartment thing that she's like raving about, even though she had to get like discount stuff to furnish her apartment, and that she's doing this whole dating app thing. There's a lot of kind of plot contrivances that happen here, plot demands that this thing goes on. Mainly Gory's whole dating app thing. I'm like, oh, okay. I understand people this showing people doing side hustles and trying to do stuff with their dreams, but it never really kind of commits to any kind of overall message other than they do these things and then go back to either their day job or their day/crappy job, or that's pretty much it. It's like, all right. Or some of them continue to kind of juggle them because we don't figure out what Hayoto's job is until the last one, and we find out that he's like a window washer. I'm like, oh, okay. And it's just so matter of factly done in the background. It's like, okay, all right, cool. Huh? So let's see here. Haida, of course, is freaking out and goes to see her and runs into Tadano, and they pretty much have their own kind of conversation of what's going on with Retsuko and all that, and pretty much putting onto the thing that Haida doesn't really know Retsuko. He likes her, but she doesn't tell him anything about the idol group or being in debt or anything like that. It's just kind of work friends. And as we get through to the end of this season and we see some kind of movement on their relationship front, I'm like, Haida really shouldn't be going for Retsuko because she is mainly just treating him as workplace friend. There's no problem with that, or just like usual kind of friends. There's no problem with that, but you don't really see any kind of romantic interest like kind of pop up until kind of the end. It's kind of the weirdest kind of, not the weirdest, but just the kind of cliffhangery part that we get at the end. So we see that Retsuko is doing pretty good with this whole kind of OTM girls group. We see Monica kind of having her whole kind of like balancing act of working at a convenience store and doing the whole idol group thing. And even like when her coworkers like, oh, are you gonna still work here, or like when that takes off, are you gonna put full force on that? And she's like, well, it's not gonna take off for a while, so I'll work here and everything like that. And I get that kind of mentality. But what's going on is that we see that they start doing other kind of things, and Hayoto had a really smart idea for selling CDs of that they would include tickets for like a certain amount of seconds of handshake time. So, oh, that is actually a smart idea to sell physical medium and to get people to actually buy more of it if you're a fan, so that way they get more of those tickets. It's kind of nuts. But then you've got extra CDs, so if they run into someone and think, hey, this person would like this group, here's a CD, they've already paid for it, and they then become part of your marketing team. Sorry, I like certain business aspects when you see certain things working out. Like when Retsuko's like, hey, how about we like do our own kind of buttons and everything, make them like this, that way we can change the designs on a fly and just be like, boo, 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 bam, and even like custom make them for like our most ardent fans. I'm like, yes, that's how you do it. But we see that Retsuko does get some help with like the debt front. Washimi gives her some money mainly for food. Tan was actually going to give her money to get out of debt as well, but brings her up to the point of like, you kind of have to make a choice here. And that their group really got big because this one blogger hyped them up, and we find out that it's pretty much Tan's lackey, Komiya. It's like, alright, that's kind of okay. And while this is going on, we also see that Haida has a love triangle thing going on with like him, Retsuko, and this new girl in the office, Inoue. And I think Haida should have went for Inoue. I mean, granted, yeah, Faneko kind of like pulls it off. It's like it's the safe bet and everything like that, but she's interested in him and really shows all those kind of characteristics of actually like liking him, being in the same music, really being interested in what he's saying and everything, and talking to him, even pretty much being like, hey, it would really be cool for me to like listen to you play your bass and all that kind of stuff at your house and everything. I'm like, god damn. Well, around this time, Hayoto's got the idea of transforming the idol group into pretty much a idol band. where they actually have to play instruments. This, of course, is where the love triangle kind of shit gets into it. Where Retsuko needs to learn how to play the guitar, goes over to Haida's house to be taught, but it's like he plays the bass. Now, granted, he knows how to play the guitar and helps her kind of learn out. But this is around the same time that he's going to have that date with Inoue, and of course, Retsuko accidentally left a handkerchief there. This leads Inoue to pretty much throw down an ultimatum. Not like horrendously an ultimatum. She says, "I like you, and you kind of need to figure out your feelings." It was actually really kind of nice change of pace of like a grown-up way to kind of deal with it, because Inoue is never really painted as a villain in this, and I kind of like that. It's just like, oh god, this whole trope of the whole kind of love triangle thing, and I don't mind that if that is pretty much the main focus. But there's so many things going on, even though it's like kind of condensed in time frame and everything of what's going on. It's like, okay, all right. So that kind of gets into the effect of what's going on with Retsuko, as we see that the unofficial OTM Girls fan page is being kind of more active, and that this one dude comes and has all these tickets for pretty much 5 minutes of handshake time with Retsuko and pretty much berates her and calls her horrible, nasty things, and then is still following her. Hayato and the rest of the girls take this pretty seriously, like with Monica having pretty much a nailed bat, being like, I'm gonna fucking take this dude out. I'm like, there you go, protect your people. And that Retsuko really wasn't taking it as seriously as she should have, because she goes to her work and someone's pretty much following her there, and they see all these pictures and everything. Monica's like, you need to watch out, the motherfucker knows where you're fucking working at. And she goes out, and the dude had pretty much bought a box cutter, was going to attack her, but Haida was able to kind of stop anything before it happened, and he's got him locked down, and they're able to call the police and everything. But this is pretty much where him and Inoue are pretty much done, and he's like, I choose her. And Haida is like really freaking out in hopes that Retsuko's okay, and we see that she is, but she's still freaked out over what had happened, and is pretty much staying with her mom. Haida and the rest of the group pretty much come together to figure out what's going on, and they go out, and they pretty much use Gory's app, because Retsuko put information in, Haida put information in, and Tadano pretty much magic some shit in there with him and his AI to pretty much make them the perfect match. And he goes to pretty much proclaim that to her, and they drag her to the karaoke, and Haida does his thing. Retsuko's like, screw you, motherfucker, what the hell do you know? I'm freaked out here. And of course, she's like, I want to punch the world. He's like, yeah, I want to punch it with you. And she, of course, then goes back to her job. There is a kind of change in the relationship between Retsuko and Haida, but we don't completely get what that change is. We don't know if it's completely into a romantic relationship, or if it is still on a friendship level. We don't really get that deep into it. That's why it's a kind of weird cliffhanger. It's like, okay, she's back at work. She had also finished out the concert. It's like the first concert they played at this rock gig, because they were able to get into there. A band canceled, and that was going to be their big shot. And it's like their big shot in her farewell tour and her farewell performance, because of what happened with that dude. And I do not blame Retsuko for that. That is you can either deal with that or you can't. And if you can't deal with that, I don't think that that's cowardice to be like, I do not want to deal with a crazy motherfucker trying to kill my ass. Reasonable. Get that. And I'm just like, at least she was able to finish it out with her peeps, got the last thing, paid off the debt. It's like, yep, that's good. And I was like, okay, this didn't really have too much character development. Well, not too much character development, like deep character development. I would really like to have seen more stuff with like Hayato and stuff going on with him. I kind of would have rather had that whole thing been more of the focus, or conversely, to have everything focused on Haida and Retsuko's relationship and seeing if that had been done. I think the balancing of this too made it more of a weaker season, because they had to split time and make sure that they developed each one, and I think that harmed both of them. Not that they became completely bad, but I'm like, okay, if you put all the time in on this one, we would have been like, okay, Hayato makes an interesting character. Same with Monica and the rest of the idol group, and that would have been kind of cool. And you would have also, on the other side, you would have seen more movement and more kind of character development with Haida and Inoue and everything going on there, because Inoue really didn't have much character development. I liked her character, but there really wasn't much there. Haida, he got a lot of movement of like declaring his feelings for Retsuko and everything like that, and getting her back to work. But it's kind of like stopped, like I'm like, okay. So they're probably gonna do another season, hopefully. But I'm like, all right. I don't mind it for what it is because they're short 15-minute episodes. So it's a good thing in the background to watch, and it's not really completely and utterly crazy. I mean, granted, the whole thing of the dude pretty much trying to kill her, they're really suitable for kids. Little amount of blood, not crazy amount or anything. But, I found this to be okay. Would I tell you to drop everything and watch it? Not really, but if you got any kind of like holes in your schedule or really need something, this would definitely be on the top of that list to watch, to either have something on the background, get you through a dry spell, to entertain yourself until something else comes on. So yeah. So those are my opinions on this season. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.